I like making my drawers this way because I keep a real tight tolerance, and with a little bit of glue and those nails being toe-nailed into the face, that drawer is never going anywhere, and it's a really clean look. It's the way a lot of cabinet companies do it, I think is extremely ugly, where you take a box and you screw it to a drawer face. To me, that's not a drawer, that's a box with a face screwed onto it. You can do dovetail and all types of different joinery for your drawers, but over the years, I've never ever had one come back, and I really like the cleanliness of the drawer. It really is a clean look. But if you do it, make sure your tolerances are nice and tight. You don't want this to slide in nice and easy. You want to have to almost force it in. And even if you have to clamp it in, clamp it down to get it to the very bottom of your dado, that's fine too. But I try and keep it a nice tight tolerance so that I know that my drawers are never going to come apart. When you're making drawers, one of the things that you want to make sure is that they're perfectly square all the way around. Otherwise, they won't track in the cabinet properly, and you'll be miserable. So always check to make sure that they're square and plumb. So what I mean by plumb is I pull it up like this, and then I make sure that I have got a nice plumb drawer. And in this case, well, you have to clamp this little guy here. And of course, the other thing you want to make sure of too is that you hold the roll. That's right. You're sitting on something. Yeah, it's still off by about a 32nd of an inch. See, let's check here. If I hold the drawer face down on my desk, this one, perfect. So, all I have to do is clamp this down to make sure that it's perfectly seated before I go ahead and toenail in my nails. So I just put it on the edge here, and I give it a good clamp, and that will squeeze this puppy home and make sure that I have a nice clean joint. And as long as it's down there, back off, that's not a fair analysis. There we go. Okay, so now I can go ahead. Now, because I used the clamp, I'm going to double check my square again, make sure my clamp didn't throw anything out. That's beautiful right there. And that's beautiful right there. So I'm ready to go ahead and toenail this in. Now you've got to be kind of careful not to make sure you move anything while you're doing this. I use 1-inch nails. So basically, because I've got a 1/2 inch drawer side, those nails are embedded about, I would say, a 1/16 of an inch into the face. So I have got a good 1/2 inch going in on an angle into the drawer face. Really nice and strong. After this glue sets, there is no way this drawer is coming apart. You'll have to bust it apart. And that's what I found over the years, is that I've never ever had a problem with this style of drawer. I do distressing as well, and if I was going to do a distressed piece, of course it's supposed to look 100 years old, so I wouldn't be able to do this type of construction. I'd go ahead and dovetail it just so that would be the norm back then. So anyway, you know, it's simple, it's very time consuming because you have to radius the top of your drawer sides to match the radius of your pocket or your dado in your drawer face. You have to keep the tolerances from here to here exact, because otherwise your drawer is going to be cattywampus. So anyway, it's a little more work, but I really like the cleanliness of the look. I mean, you can see for yourself that that is a really clean looking drawer. Anyway, that's just my opinion. This is the last drawer I need to assemble. So excuse the babble as I make this, because I wanted to explain some of the things that I do, just to help you out if you decide to do it this way. Okay, this high chest I'm making, of course, is made out of solid walnut. Face frame, top, sides, everything, with the exception of the drawers, which are made out of Baltic birch. I like 1/2-inch Baltic birch for 2 reasons. It's 9-ply and it's unidirectional, which means that all of the plies are going in one direction. It makes for an extremely stiff piece of wood in one direction. The other direction, if you know, it wouldn't be as strong in this direction as it would in this direction, which is nice when you're doing a glue up like this. I get unidirectional Baltic birch, and my drawers are as straight and as stiff as can be. They're never going to curl or warp or twist or anything, because of the fact that it's all unidirectional. And normally, you wouldn't have a drawer much bigger than this. I do on occasion when I do a file drawer or something, it'll be a little bit taller than this. But even at this tall, these things are dead flat. So anyway, that's the story about the Baltic birch. And you'll notice that there is no voids. That's the other thing about Baltic birch, is you can actually router it and sand it, and you're not going to have any voids in the plies at all. That's another reason I really like this as a material for drawer size. You use solid wood, and there's a chance that they're going to warp over time, especially this wide. So if you did a glue up to get this wide, you know, that's an additional amount of work. And then the other thing I like is I don't like 3/4-inch thick drawers. It's overkill, and when you open the drawer, it just looks like a massive box. So that's why I use the Baltic birch. So what I do is I just put a nice coat of glue on the inside top edge of the dado all the way around, including the top. And what's nice is that you ride the tip of the bottle on this edge as you're applying glue on this edge. So it gives you a lot of control about where the glue is going. Now, these drawers are inset, which means that they're not, the face frame is not going to the drawers are not going to overlap the face frame. They're going to fall inside the frame. And that's more work too, because you have to be absolutely precise in your dimensions. You want to make sure that you've got no more than about a 1/16 of an inch between the drawers and from side to side. Here's one I'm going to have to clamp. It's such a tight fit. But for me, actually, I think that's a good thing. It means that my drawer is going to be extremely strong and tight. You can easily check to see if your drawer is seated in the pocket, front to back equally, by just checking your dimensions. And I need to go down about a 32nd of an inch in the front. That's what it was. And you can see that I've got some glue squirting out, which tells me that did more or less did the trick. I'll double check the dimension again to make sure, but that more or less tells me that I've got it seated real nice now. Like I said, these drawers are time consuming, but I really like the look. Okay, let's check this one against that one. That's good. Good. Okay, so now my drawer bottom. It's a maple ply, because the Baltic birch and the maple look almost like the same species when they're finished up. So I like that. And I'm not going to use any stain on this cabinet. It's going to be a natural finish. What I do is I make the drawer back a 1/4 of an inch difference in height than I do the sides. What that does is it has the drawer back stop just before the radius on the top of the drawer side. So that gives me a nice clean look too. And you'll see that on this drawer if you didn't catch it on the assembly of some of the others I did. Of course, I'm sure you guys don't miss anything, so excuse my mistakes or my fumbling. I'm not used to doing videos, and I'm trying to be as quick and professional as I can in my conversation and concentrate on what I'm doing at the same time. I'll get better as I go, but right now I'm a little clumsy. So you can see on the back that my drawer back stops ever so slightly before the radius of the sides. That way I don't have to have a flat surface on the drawer side. I get to radius it and have it nice and smooth, and not have it as obvious that it's plywood as if I was going to do a flat surface. The radius kind of kills that look. So now I got to square up the drawer before I go ahead and toenail in my face nails. That's beautiful right there, and so is that. So now the last check before I go ahead and nail that up is to see how plumb the drawer is. I'm sure it's going to be good because the size of it. Yep. Yep. Okay, so now I can go ahead and toenail in my I've already sanded the inside of the face with 220. All of the drawer sides, tops, and the bottom are all sanded with 220, ready for finishing. The outside of the drawer and all of the edges of the drawer face are not sanded with 220 yet. They have been sanded with 100 grit or 120, depending on what I used. I think I used 100. And I'll give it a good going over with 220 and get it ready for finishing. So that's the drawer assembly, and that's basically all there is to it. But I don't know how you feel about this construction, but as far as the cleanliness and the look of the drawer, I don't think you're going to beat it. I'm building up the edge because I'm going to bullnose the piece, and I want the top to be a little more substantial than just a small radius on the top. I want a full bullnose, so this will take care of that for me. Okay, I need 34 and 34. Perfect. So it'll be a nice tight fit over the top of my cabinet over there. And of course, what I'll do next is to sand this up a little bit, get any glue residue off, and then put a bullnose on the front and sides. And then the top will be ready. And next is going to be the feet. And then after I build the feet, then I've got to do the finishing and then install drawer guides and hardware, and I'm done. So what I'm doing here is flushing up the ends so that I've got a perfect square. These are going to be the feet for the high chest. So, and now what I do is, I don't know if you can see it or not, how the glue is oozed out. Well, now I clean that off because I'm going to put a cleat inside here to fasten it to the bottom of the cabinet. And I'll show you that later. The reason that I can glue these up without any nails or anything else is because my cut is so smooth that it creates a vacuum when I put the glue to it. After a few minutes, you couldn't pull it apart if you wanted to. But this saw has a 110 tooth carbide blade, and it's deadly accurate, this saw is. So I've got perfect miters every time. I set up a stop so that every one is exactly the same size. And then I just fold it up like a book after I tape it up. And you'll see that again. I'll show you one more time. In shadow boxes that I've made, I've done this same process thousands of times. I had a Ryobi saw with a 80 tooth Freud blade on it, and it cut as clean as this blade does, and you didn't need any fasteners. You do this, glue it, fold it, tape it tight, it's never coming apart. It's pretty incredible what you can get away with if your cut is clean enough. But it creates such a vacuum that it's like putting water between two pieces of glass and trying to pull them apart. It's really something else. But anyway, that's all there is to it. And then this way, I have a nice quick process. I use my hands to flush up the two ends to make sure that they're dead even. And then I just pull tight and fold it up like a book. Well, sometimes that happens. I don't like to continue with a little short piece of tape. I just start with a fresh piece of tape. There we go. And I just go around, and if I notice that any are not perfectly lined up, I realign them. I peel back the tape. I put another piece of tape on to lock it in, and I go around the corners that way. So now I'll do away with that because I've already peeled half of it up, and I'll throw another one here. And then I take this one, and this one is moved ever so slightly too, and I just pull it back, slide it back. Pulling it apart is fun, but you can slide it back and forth as long as you're not trying to pull it apart. Pulling it apart, you'd probably not be able to do it. But if you slide it ever so slowly and gently, you can move it a little bit. As long as you do it in a hurry, because in a couple of minutes this thing will be frozen up and you're not moving it anywhere. So you got to move pretty quick when you do this. But you can see I get an ever so slight sliver of glue out of the top sometimes. Oh, and this one has moved too, so it looks like I'm going to be moving all four corners on this one, or three of the four anyway. I only have 4 feet, so I didn't set up a jig to do this, and I just did it as quickly as I could without setting up any jigs, and this is the best way to do it. So, now you can see I've got some glue ooze, which tells me that I've got some good glue coverage all the way around. You can see how nice and tight the joints are, and makes for a pretty quick little box. You want to make shadow boxes quick? This is the way to do it. The lid hasn't been sanded yet, so I'm not ready to put it on, but I'll show you what it's going to look like. what I did here was I cut little blocks and inserted them so that I have a place to screw these down to the bottom of the cabinet, which you'll see right here. Now they're just sitting there right now, but that's the bottom of the cabinet. Now, because you can see that the cabinet drops down, what I'm doing is I'm gluing up little support pieces, excuse the camera movement. I'm gluing up these little corner supports, which are right here, and they're going to go on the inside and the back to support the back of the leg, and I can show you one that's just sitting there. It's not actually glued up, but you can see how I'm going to handle that. And this is the easiest way to do it. It'll be structurally sound, and it works. So I'll do that on all four legs, and that's what I'm doing. So when I start assembling this, I'll show you how I go about doing that. And basically what I'm going to do is screw down into the face frame or the side frame here through the inside of the leg on both the front and the side. And then I'm going to have a nice secure block sitting there. And I'll throw some glue in there too, which won't hurt. Folks, this is the hard way to do it. It's going to work. It's going to be plenty sturdy, but it is the hard way to do it. What I just did was sanded the two back sides. The two front sides are going to be sanded after these are all secured and ready to be, the whole cabinet's ready to be sanded with 220. It's already pre-sanded with 120. And I'm going to step that up to 220. So I'm not bothering to sand the outsides of these corners, because I will hit all of it again with 220. And unfortunately, my wood split when I put a screw in it from behind, but that's something you got to live with. I'll fill that in and it'll be gone, but I don't like it. I got to live with it. Right there. Now again, you see what I did was I've got, this is going to be the side that's going to be shown. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this side, and the back side. And this side I'll save for when I go ahead and sand the rest of it. I knew when I decided on the feet for this project that it was going to be a large undertaking. I could have done it differently, but because I haven't done this design before, I thought I'd go ahead and just give it a shot like this, see if I like the look, and if I do, I'll set up jigs to do this so that the leg is all one piece and drops down and sits on the bottom rather than produce a block for the leg to sit on, which would have been the right way to do it. But because this is more or less a prototype, I'm not going to go to that extreme with this. If I like the look after it's all said and done, I'll set up jigs to, I got this, because if I like this, I'm going to produce an entire set of furniture, dressers, nightstands, the whole ball of wax. So we'll have to wait and see what the outcome is when it's all said and done. But so far I kind of like the look. It's a little different. So after these set up and I screw them down, what I've done was I've produced countersunk holes in the bottom of this plate so that I can screw them down to the face frame, and so they'll be plenty secure. I'm not going to try and do it before I glued them up because they'll move around and it'll be nothing but grief. This way the glue will set up a little bit, they'll be locked in place, and then I can go ahead and screw them down. So anyway, that's it for now. I'm going to let them set up a little bit, and I'll give you another view of this. Excuse the camera movements, but, well, let me get out of the light coming in from the window. There. That's the look I'm aiming for. So we'll see what it looks like when it's all finished up and done, but so far so good. I kind of like the look. It's different. That's why I love building out of walnut. I mean, no stain, no anything. It's absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, that's the first coat, and I'll start the sanding and top coat process before too long. you saw how I installed the drawer guides. I like to do it that way because it can be deadly accurate and you don't have to do a lot of messing around after they're installed. And there's 3 different drawer sizes here. So I made it to the point to where I made it as simple as possible. Let me put it that way. The drawer pulls are on order. They won't get here for probably a week or so. So completing it has got to wait. And but otherwise, I'm real happy with the outcome. I like the feet. Tell me what you think. I've never seen anybody do this before, and I decided to give it a shot. And I really like the outcome. It really turned out nice. Anyway, that's my high chest. Now I've got to make dressers, nightstands, all kinds of fun stuff. I got a house of furniture to make. So it's been a while since I made any furniture, so, you know, this was like a refresher course. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. And when the hardware is on, we'll close up this video and post it for you.